hello. This is Angel Algiles with another episode of 30 Inspiring Women brought to you by Living Firme. And today I have a really good friend of mine from back in the day. So Sky Gaven's LinkedIn profile says she's an entrepreneur, but I have known her for a long time, and I'd say she's been going out with digital superpowers. Let me quickly run down some of her accomplishments, and you can decide which one is the better title. She studied at NYU's Tisch School of the Arts, has won multiple awards for filmmaking and casting, crossed over into the music industry to work with Warner Brothers, where she discovered and developed pop act Becky G. In 2010, she formed a one-of-a-kind creative agency called KonRob. The company designs, builds, strategizes, and analyzes content. In 2015, Sky created herstory by successfully transitioning Shay Mitchell, a traditional celebrity, into a YouTube digital star. Sky has also worked with all of your favorite creators, Bethany Mota, Ashley Tisdale, Remi Ashten, Herman, Garmendia, and Grav3yardgirl. Oh, by the way, Sky is now venturing into new horizons by launching a new kids media company called UniLand and also engineering ways for users to experience digital human connectivity on their YouTube platform. Ay, Dios mío. Sky, you're a superwoman.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. First of all, I want to thank you for taking time because I know that you're busy at KonRob, taking over the world. So thank you for being here and giving us some of your time. But I just want to talk about how you grew up. What was your journey like to this point?
Well, I was born and raised in Boyle Heights, and they always tell you that you should dream about leaving the hood. But my hood's getting gentrified, so I'm not going to go nowhere. It's a beautiful community to grow up in. I got to see where I come from because I'm a descendant of Mexican ancestors. So I get to be around that all the time. Like I have the best food, the best music, the best neighbors, and my family's around me. And now my office is 1 mile from my house. So that's perfect. I'm over in the Arts District. But yeah, it was amazing growing up where I grew up because I got to see. I never thought I had any disadvantages until I went to NYU, and then I realized that I was actually poor because my community is so enriched in so many other ways that, aside from finances, I just never realized that was a real situation. Boyle Heights has been my home, and it was amazing growing up there.
So tell me, what were your influencers and how you got involved in the arts?
In the beginning, I never knew that Latino women could ever enter the arts. Because growing up in Boyle Heights, the only person that ever came out of there, a lot of people have come out of there. You have Danny Trejo, Oscar de la Hoya, Sky Gaven, and a couple other people. But there's not a lot of art that comes out of Boyle Heights. Like, we have a bunch of artists, but none of us are commercial in that sense where the whole world knows us. When Jennifer Lopez came out and she put the Bronx on the map and she got that $1 million check, she proved a point that there is a marketplace for us and that we should be at the forefront. And I think that the first person that I ever saw involved in art that somewhat resembled me was Jennifer Lopez in a mainstream way. Because I remember even watching your film, when you came out of the gate, it was different for me to see it. Number one, you played a character from Echo Park, which isn't far from where I grew up. And so seeing your film and seeing you being brown too, it empowered me to understand and realize that the lane was open for us. That was my influence. You guys are both women. So I made it my mission to find out how to make movies, and I kind of fell into it where Lindsay Lohan was shooting a movie at my school, and I had the privilege to go to a school called Palisades High School. I took a bus every day for 2.5 hours back and forth just to go to school near the beach. And they ended up shooting a movie called Freaky Friday at the school. So I met Lindsay Lohan. I was on the yearbook staff. I was the editor-in-chief there. Of course, I went to yearbook camp and did all that fun stuff. So I met Lindsay, and Lindsay started explaining to me, the nature of her business and what she did in Hollywood and how they were shooting the movie. And I got to see, the cranes, the monitors, the honey wagons, all the jargon of filmmaking. I learned it firsthand there. And she pretty much exposed me to that side of the world because of the environment that I was in. And I knew that by placing myself in that environment, I was going to be exposing myself to new things, which is what I wanted, what I desired. and what my mom really pushed me to do, to groom me that way. So I placed myself in the right situation, and I got the right exposure. And from there, I was able to land an internship with Angela Robinson as her intern on a movie called Herbie Fully Loaded. It was eventually went into the director's assistant role. And so I got to see the movie from a movie be built by Disney, from inception to the writing process, to the rewrite, to the pre-production, to the production, to the post-production, to the premiere, to the distribution. I got to see the entire blueprint of how to do this. And right then and there, I was like, wow, like, this is it. My mentor was a female director. After that, I met Catherine Hardwick, who was also a female director. She did the movie Twilight. And after that, I met Kimberly Pierce, who did Boys Don't Cry. So I had all these amazing women directors around me that, for me, it's so natural to say, like, I can do anything because I saw them do it. So, of course, I think I could do it because I have evidence and proof that it can be done. So that was my experience with getting introduced into Hollywood. And it was an incredible experience that no one else has. This is an experience that belongs to me, and I was able to hone in on it and now tell the stories that I tell via digital.
So that's a great segue into telling the stories that you tell. And I just have to put a little comment in here, is that I do agree that, one, your exposure, like, you know, you mentioning that you were on Yearbook is hilarious to me because, of course, you were. Because even in that way, even the Yearbook Committee is, in its own way, a storytelling format. And it's crazy to think that you don't realize that that is the story that you tell for your entire high school career. And had I known that, I would have put myself on the Yearbook Committee because I would have wanted to tell the story a little differently. But anyway, I digress. The fact that you did have this experience with all these women directors was completely unique because they only represent a small fraction of the overall production process. So it's amazing that you just kept ending up in these situations to be mentored by women, and whether that's fate or if it was serendipitous, bottom line is that is a very unique experience, but I mean, a beautiful one. One of the reasons I definitely wanted to have you on is because I think a lot of people don't realize how much behind the scenes matters. It's everything in the filmmaking process and a beautiful one. One of the reasons I definitely wanted to have you on is because I think a lot of people don't realize how much behind the scenes matters. It's everything in the filmmaking process and the digital process as well. And you are a digital badass. Tell me a little bit about how you jumped from traditional into the digital marketplace.
Well, after working in Hollywood and seeing the whole process of a film and having that blueprint at hand now, I went to go work at NBC Universal in corporate casting. So I thought that if I could control who becomes famous and become a gatekeeper, then I could really change the way that media is consumed and seen by my community, because I didn't see any representation of ourselves on TV. So that was my goal when I went in. Through that, one of the first things that I did was ask for the NBC Universal Rolodex. So I got the directory, the company directory, and I went through it. And I was like, I literally sat with a highlighter and I highlighted any name and any last name that sounded or looked like Latin descent, any Latino name. And I got all the way up to O, and it was Ortiz. So I highlighted David Ortiz. And I asked my boss at the time, I said, hey, would it be possible to get a meeting with David Ortiz so I could sit with him and talk with him and see what it's like to be a Latino in this environment? And she was like, yeah, like, definitely, let me hook you up. So the arrangement happened. I walk into this guy's office and we start talking. And I start telling him how, like, you know, I want to be the next Sherry Lansing. And Sherry Lansing, you know, she produced Titanic and a bunch of epic films. And she was the very first female chairman of any studio, which was Paramount. During the meeting, I start saying, like, I want to be the Latin version of Sherry Lansing. I want to be this. I want to, like, segue my community into the front end and the back end of filmmaking. So we wrapped up the meeting, and at the end of the conversation, David let me know that all the people that worked at NBC Universal were roaming dinosaurs, and they were still living. and that this would be the last of their empire, because it was only a matter of time before that generation of filmmaking went out the window and digital would be introduced. And at the time, people were calling digital 2.0. They were saying, oh, it's a 2.0. It's not going to stick around for a long time, but we'll see what happens. And he told me early on, you need to get out of the game that you're trying to play in film and just go directly to digital and focus on that. So having gone to NYU where they taught me how to shoot film on 16 millimeter, I learned how to be very resourceful. I learned how to really pick out the shots and understand filmmaking in a resourceful manner. But now with digital, with the experience of being resourceful, of saving money and knowing how to spend a budget and having digital at my fingertips, I could literally make anything I wanted. And it was on film at that time. It was like on the little tapes, like an 8 millimeter tape or like a little DV tape. And you could shoot for hours and hours, and it would not cost you $300 a foot to film. It would cost you like $5, but you could shoot for hours. So digital just made sense for me naturally because at the time I was 21. It was natural for me to segue into that. So the first thing I did was I got a YouTube channel. This was 10 years ago. I got a YouTube channel and I started uploading music videos on there and helping Warner Music become adapted and helping NBC Universal adapt to digital. When that happened, I realized that I had something going on for myself, which was that I just wanted to do MySpace pages and YouTube channels. So I talked to Kendra Carter, who was at NBC Universal at the time. She was the director of it. And I told her that, I had this company called KonRob that I started. I literally came up with the name and just said that this is my new company. It wasn't legally done. There was no lawyers. There was no money in the company. I just came up with the name. I have this company, and it's called KonRob, and I want to pitch you the company, and then I want to pitch you our services and see if NBC could be KonRob's first client. It's an opportunity to be our first client. And I presented the opportunity to her. Even though she was the opportunity, I presented like KonRob was the opportunity. So I said, I'll start your MySpace page. I'll get you followers and friends, and I'll help you with your website, and I'll shoot the behind the scenes to everything you guys do. So when you throw your parties that are $10 million and these festivals, I'll film it. And then I'll give you like a 2-minute sizzle reel about what happened, and then you can take that to your board and get finance for more money for next year. Because I'll be able to show you on a video how amazing it was. So I was selling video content. And she was like, okay, well, how much is this? And then at the time, we're looking at, this was 2009, 2010, around there. I was like, well, it would be $150 per video. And at the time, that was like a lot of money to me, and she was like, I'll take 10. And I got my first client. And then I was no longer with NBC, but I was partnering with them, and they were KonRob's very first client. And I remember getting my first NBC check, and I was like, wow, mama, I made it. And it was weird because, we made like $1,200, but I had to pay everybody money to work on the projects with me. So at the end, I think I ended up putting $200 of my own money into it. So it's just bad business. But I learned if you put it out there and you have a vision, you can capture a client, you can capture an audience, and you can sell the vision if it's an actual vision. You can't just have an idea with no action. Like, the idea has to have execution, and that equals vision.
I think you also had the skill set behind it. I mean, you had the confidence in your own ability, and I think you are visionary. Sometimes you've had conversations with me, and I definitely think you're crazy. But then I see you doing this shit, and I'm like, wow, her crazy ass made this happen. And I love that it's happening, and I love that most of all that it's happening for you, because I think you're right. I think that you had just the fact that you went through the Rolodex and picked out Latinos, and just the fact that one Latino was so ahead of his time to just say what he said to you, it's almost a magical experience anyway. So tell me what KonRob is doing now and what you see for the future.
Well, KonRob is a creative agency, and we help build and strategize and organize different types of businesses. So it's a lot of business development with creators. That's one side to our business. The other side is a research and development firm, which is all part inclusive to the creative agency. And what that means is, if you're a creator and you're working with the manager and you have an agent, a lot of times with the people that are taking the percentages from you, they don't really understand what the creator wants to do, because the creators themselves don't understand if they're going to be, let's say, an infinite player or a finite player. It kind of depends on what kind of player you want to be. If this is the type of thing, if you want to create art for the rest of your life, or is this just a temporary thing and then one day, you want to go be a lawyer, be a doctor. So we kind of help secure the voice and make sure that the brand is in line to position itself to be an infinite player. That's what we help out with.
And I did do some reading of your previous clients. Just quickly scroll through some of your clients and talk about the specific projects that you've worked on.
So one of the first things that KonRob became known for is pioneering the very first traditional celebrity onto YouTube and making them a digital star, which was Shay Mitchell. Shay Mitchell is by far one of the most hardworking people I've ever gotten to know. And it's been an honor to know her and work with her. Until this day, we still collaborate. And she's just beyond genius. The woman has such a vision and such a heart. To work with her, after that, I worked with Tisdale, created a series before called Music Sessions, which is her #1 series. And then after that, after working with numerous creators in the space, we transitioned into research and development, which is what we're doing now. And we've been helping Google engineer new ways to experience digital human community via the community tool on YouTube. So it's been an amazing, incredible adventure with that. We work with Grav3yardgirl, Garmendia, Tisch, just a variety of creators. And we've really been able to focus in on the creator needs to help them grow out their ecosystems and help them remain mentally healthy. Because they're influencing the world. So these people have a lot of control and they have so much expectations placed on them that a lot of times it's difficult. So I've gotten the nickname YouTube Doctor, where this is what I do now. Like, I help different creators, whether traditional or YouTubers, just make sure that they're happy and they place their happiness before any kind of monetary value, any kind of decision, whatever it may affect, but their happiness has to be prioritized. When you're an artist and you're creating, if you're not happy doing what you do, it's going to affect your entire ecosystem of what you're building. So I just encourage all of the creators to be true to themselves, be true to their voice, and stay happy. And how do you stay happy? By doing what you love. If you do what you love and what you're placed here to do, whatever mission you're bestowed with, that's how you find your happiness, by being true to yourself. So we really try to practice that with the creators that we work with. And community on Google has been such a powerful tool. And I call it a tool from the future because it really does shape the world we live in, where basically you can communicate as a creator anything you want to your audience in GIF form, photo, text, links, all that stuff. So it's definitely a new way to centralize all audiences into one place for the creator, so it eases up the anxiety and they can just do everything on YouTube.
I really super appreciate everything that you said, because I think that it is something that work-life balance, where as an artist you feel like all you want to do is create, but then you're exposed to this ability to monetize. And once that comes in and all of the responsibilities that come with, now you've created this thing and it's your livelihood, the pressure that comes with that, you going in there and really showing that that's a major concern, like a person's mental health is connected to their ability to create art.
Yeah, and look, at the end, KonRob is an emotional intelligence-based company. We foster, we study, and we nurture the connection between artists and their audiences. And I recognize that the relationship is fundamental to changing everything. The connection between the artist and their public, their audience, is essential to any kind of growth. And KonRob's attitude of being experimental, it's a willful protest against things that are traditional. And not in the sense of it being for its own sake, but it's just a purposeful expression of our constant search for creative responsibility and overall business improvement. Business improvement of our own and business improvement of the collaborators that we work with. So that way we're conscious of the content that we're putting out there. But like you had just said, keeping our mental health intact.
I love it. I love you, girl. And I can't wait for our future together. And I just want to let everybody know where they can find you and your content.
On KonRob.com, KonRob.com. You can look me up on Instagram. Just look up Sky Gaven. It's the pretty girl with the picture. Yeah, and you know, if you need some help, well, we're here and we engineer the dream you wish to stream. So it's all about streaming your dreams.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Angel. Thank you for being such an inspiration all the time and being so steady.
Aw, you're my pal. You're my pal. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, talk to you soon. Bye.